Hello and welcome back, and I welcome all of you back, guys, ladies and gentlemen, to another Dark Souls 2 OST reaction. And I find it very curious that a couple of days ago I talked about how hard I felt it was to really get a handle for uh, a lot of things in Dark Souls 2. But once again, when it comes to what they were going for with their story and how characters are such a huge part of this narrative, it's I think it makes Dark Souls 2 fascinating. It doesn't make it a great game or even good, but I think there's just enough to say that actually it deserves to be studied and has an absolute place in in the From Software's Soulsborne series. Now, previously, I talked about how King Vendrick is probably one of the most underrated characters that has ever been a part of the Soulsborne series. Well, I'm going to now switch things up because we're now going to talk about what I think is probably one of the best characters that the From Software series has created, and that is Aldia, Scholar of the First Sin. And my goodness, there is so much to unpack with this. Now, I'm gonna try and keep it simple, but basically, Aldia is a character that follows you pretty much from roughly halfway into the game, and he will follow you at different bonfires all throughout the rest of the game, even and including on your way to meet the ancient dragon. And Aldia questions you and stops you at every turn he can in order to pose wisdom and ask you what your ambition is. What are you looking for, and what exactly do you want when you reach the throne of want? Ambition, drive, there's a lot of things that, whilst they're also like a huge part of Bloodborne, ambition and self interest is pretty key to Dark Souls 2's story as well. A lot of characters are very self-motivated. Some of them do it for probably less than noble reasons. Some do it for pretty chaotic reasons. Some of them do it because they think it is the right or thing to do in many cases. So the line for morality is like quite blurred in Dark Souls 2, including you as the playable character. With all that being said and done, however, one thing that I talked a little bit when I talked about Vendrick's score was that it was meant to be somber and not to reflect the idea that you're defeating the king of Drang Lake. It comes across more of you're putting an old man out of his misery. And now, when you get to the very end of the game and you've defeated Nashandra, Aldia shows up for one last encounter, and in many respects, this is your final challenge. This is what it takes. If you can defeat Aldia, you would have proved yourself worthy to him if this is what you want. But a lot of people suspect that Aldia doesn't really die if you kill him in the end of the game, but that might be a little bit more true for the original release of Dark Souls 2, not Scholar of the First Sin edition. But bear in mind, this is what it sounds like to fight another man who was more motivated by knowledge and the drive for knowledge than for the quest of power. some people may deem it disappointing in many respects that Aldia is literally the last actual challenge of the game, because the boss fight itself is not challenging or difficult. It's probably even easier than the Chandra, but I think it's more out of respect for the fact that this is everything that Aldia has told you. Does any of this like sink in whatsoever, or are you so completely set in your mind about what you want, and that is to either sit on the throne or to just walk straight back out again, just because you've gazed upon it and thought, well, I can't be doing with this. I suppose maybe it would have helped a little bit if Aldia had dialogue during the fight, but sadly that wasn't to be. But I still think the point comes across just as well. Now, I've mentioned before that I don't think that Aldia can measure up to a lot of other bosses that happen in Dark Souls 2, because there are much better fights than better fights than Aldia in Dark Souls 2. However, I will also say that I think the idea of fighting Aldia isn't really the point of it. I think the whole point of it is that, well, again, once you overcome it and you reach the throne, they state that once you have done this, everything will fresh and everything will start anew. It will be your decision as to whether or not you embrace or renounce it. Everything will simply revert to the way it was. Life continues almost exactly as it had before, and you won't even care about it because sooner or later somebody is going to come to take you away from your throne. I almost again would like to imagine, in some bizarre way, Aldia is more meant to represent a player that, from let's say a different dimension, sort of came into the land of Drang Lake, and he saw what ambition without guidance leads to. Probably he foresaw everything that happened, or saw everything that happened in the future by merely studying what happened in the past between the wars of the lords and the everlasting dragons. There is so much to probably unpack with this, and the music again isn't really. It's not designed to be like endearing or like dramatic or powerful. It's meant to be somber and makes you reflect as to whether or not, from start to end, whether or not there was any point to this journey, or whether or not anything had any meaning whatsoever. You may lose your souls over and over again, but did you lose your soul? Did you lose your essence, your spirit? Did you lose your drive, your ambition? It's I think that that sort of thing in terms of like actual design is fantastic, and is what if Dark Souls 2 got like a proper remaster and they changed things in story and changed up quite a lot of the mechanics so it's less analog than before, they would honestly have had a masterpiece on their hand, probably the best in the trilogy. But considering it sort of isn't, it turned out not to be. But I can't really end this video, ladies and gentlemen, without first showcasing to you guys probably one of my favorite videos on the internet. And there were many clips I could have done with Aldia's sumptuous dialogue, but I choose to put this one in because it also puts things a little bit into perspective. So let's just check this out.
Why do women only like jerks who treat them like shit?
Why do guys only want bitchy bimbos who walk all over them?
Life is brilliant, beautiful, intense, to the point of obsession. Some are true to their purpose, they are the shadows, flesh and mind. One man lost his own body, but lingered on as a head. Others face the charms of love. What is it that drives you? Once, the Lord of Light vanished dark, and all that stemmed from humanity. And men assumed a fleeting form. These are the roots of our world. Men are props in stage of life, and no matter how tender, how exquisite, a lie will remain a lie. Young however, knowing this, do you still desire peace?
Enough said. And with all that being said and done, I hope all of you guys have enjoyed this, and I cannot wait to see all of you guys again in the next video. Take care, and bye-bye for now.